Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings,
Why are you listening to this show?
the podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
This is a bit stunning to say, but MLS is back this weekend. It seems like it happened really fast, and that's what happens when you play the last game of the season, when you're involved in the last game of the season. So we're going to get to Taylor Twellman in a second because somehow Messi is still doing it at this age. It's unfathomable to me. It really is. But before we get to Taylor, I just want to play that sound I promised you of the awkwardness with Stan Van Gundy and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard clearly wanted out of Orlando, but was faking it. Stan Van Gundy, always authentic, never a faker. One of the most awkward press back and forths you will ever see is Stan Van Gundy answering a question about Dwight Howard and then find out who pops up at the end.
What is your sense when you talk to management? Will they listen to him or will it be a management?
Oh, I have no idea. They can, well, obviously it'll be a management decision. They have to make the decision, but I ain't worried about that. So
Excuse me. Yeah, Stan, we're not worried about that, right?
that's what I just said. We got to be worried about winning games.
Yeah, what's our main concern right now? Jameer.
We have to stop Carmelo Anthony and the New York Knicks
And
tonight.
the New York Knicks.
That's exactly
That's
right.
the plan, right?
That is the plan. That's what I just said.
Is Dave Ping here today? The guy who started this BS?
I don't see Ping here.
Me neither.
Are you guys done with me?
Let's all
You can talk to him
now.
now. All right.
That's great.
Oof.
That was magic.
Oh,
No pun
boy.
intended.
You don't remember what was swirling around that, though,
No, I
Tony.
remember, but I thought Stan stood his ground there in a stand your ground state and said, "Hey, look, this is what happened." Yes, it is.
Stand your ground state. Taylor
You can't stand your ground in all states these days.
Taylor Twellman is with us
Talking about making
now.
a point, Dan. What's wrong with you?
Even I don't know what he's talking about.
MLS is back this week.
felt forced.
He's the lead analyst for Apple TV's MLS coverage. Miami, as I mentioned, Inter Miami and Messi are the defending champions. Thank you for joining us, Taylor. Does it feel like it? Like it feels like something I felt in Miami that wasn't necessarily felt by all of MLS.
Yeah, it feels like it 100%, Dan. And I also think when you look at where they are this year on paper, you can make an argument they're actually going to be better. They're more talented. They're deeper. The fact that they're opening Miami Freedom Park on April 4th, it just feels like the World Cup less than 100 days away. Messi, defending champion Argentina. It's a long-winded way of saying, Dan, I think Miami could be better this year than they were last year.
Can you explain to me what the impact has been worldwide, though?
Worldwide in the sense that anywhere I go now, because of what Messi's done, the conversation of Messi, whether I'm in the United States, whether I'm in South America, whether I'm in Western Europe, the way I was a little bit ago, everyone's talking about watching Messi in a pink jersey. The fact that Inter Miami's not worth more than $1.45 billion, Dan, in the blink of an eye that happened. Everyone, because of Apple TV and the ability to watch this globally, everyone's getting an opportunity to watch Messi in MLS. And then I think when they open Miami Freedom Park, there's going to be a culmination of 12 hard years of work from the Moss family, the Beckham family. And I think it's only fitting that Lionel Messi's in that pink jersey that day.
Is the job done for him? Like, it's already a success, right?
Well, you could have said that before he played for Inter Miami. The moment he won the World Cup for Argentina, you could have made the argument, signed, sealed, delivered, it's done. He doesn't have to do anything, but that's not who he is. Dan, he's a very unique individual, and I've had the fortunate pleasure of really following him and seeing him and watching the competitiveness and watching behind the scenes of how every single day he's driving to be. He doesn't need to do anything. He's accomplished everything in the global game, in the game here, and yet every single time he steps on the field, he wants to prove you wrong. He wants to prove me wrong. He wants to prove himself wrong. That Father Time isn't knocking on the door. He's a very unique individual.
Taylor, Lionel may miss the season opener nursing a minor injury. With Argentina in the World Cup a focus, an increasing focus. Do you expect Messi's play for Inter Miami to be really regulated, a time management thing that we haven't seen before?
It's a great question. It really is. I think the answer to that is no, because Lionel Messi has said even himself that in order to play in this World Cup, he's got to be 100% match fit. Now, a lot of us would say, well, maybe that is load management. It's the opposite when you're at his age. Any single time you can get yourself 65, 75, 90 minutes, he will do so. Messi believes that he can only get that kind of fitness in games, not in training. Now, in saying that, they've got CONCACAF Champions Cup, they've got MLS, they're going to have Argentina friendlies. If there's a little wiggle here or there, to steal an English phrase, I would absolutely expect Messi to be very mindful that he doesn't want to expose himself. But if he can play the game, he's going to play the game. He's always done that. He always will do that. And especially because a lot of eyeballs, even more so in the United States of America, will be watching him defend the World Cup title. I know he's saying publicly that he won't play if he's not 100% fit. You can miss me with that. I expect him to play for Argentina.
We have some other questions about things outside of Messi, but you just brought up a point that I'm not sure has been absorbed by the American public. This club was worth $56 million in 2022. It is now the most valuable franchise in MLS at 135. That, plus the championship, suggests to me that the only way this could have gone better is if he had won all the championships. But if I'd given them the choice in Miami, which would you prefer, to win all the championships or have this, the most valuable franchise and now a future with a stadium that's opening? You understand what I'm saying? Messi has somehow exceeded the expectations.
He has. Dan, I'd argue they're not mutually exclusive. I'm not 100% sure they're worth that number if they haven't won the amount of trophies that they've won. Now, you and I could probably argue for 10 minutes. Okay, they're worth 1.1 billion or 1.2. It's not that much. But the point being is that in order for it to be successful, the dream was to open Miami Freedom Park as defending MLS Cup champions. They've done that. Now, behind the scenes and even publicly, they're talking about winning CONCACAF Champions Cup. So after the World Cup, Messi is then playing and representing in the FIFA Club World Cup. And so it just never stops because he's a winner and he wants to win. But Dan, make no mistake about it. If you would have asked the owners, you get the cup trophies or you're worth $1.4 billion, I'll let that simmer. You know that answer.
Hey, Taylor, thank you for joining us. Yesterday, we were talking about lewd behavior in the stands. There was a college basketball game in which the F Miami was chanted, and Greg wanted it eliminated from sports. And I brought up what happens in Mexico with the homophobic chants, how CONCACAF and FIFA have taken a lot of steps to phase that out, and yet the chants persist with North America hosting a World Cup. How would you phase this out of the game? Can you even do that?
Well, look at the Champions League game yesterday between Benfica and Real Madrid. And so as much as FIFA wants to raise their hand and say no racism doesn't exist here, listen, actions are louder than words for me and slogans. And what happened with Vinicius Jr. is absolutely irresponsible. It's completely gross. There's no place for it in the game. Listen, I loved playing in front of fans that told me to F off, that told me any kind of stuff. But the moment you go to racism or homophobic, you lack creativity. That's not even a good chance. So
for the audience, though, we should point out Prestiani allegedly he called him a monkey 5 times. Correct?
All right. So this was Champions League, Benfica versus Real Madrid. Vinicius, in my lifetime in soccer, has been subject to as many of these incidents as I can recall any other player dealing with.
Michael, 27. Yeah, 27 times.
It's insane. He scores a big goal. He celebrates. Prestiani, a player for Benfica, allegedly to those on the pitch, calls Vinicius a monkey. And
5 times.
Yeah. Jose Mourinho, not his strongest moment. A former Real Madrid manager tries to smooth things over, says we can't be a racist club. Our greatest player is black. Just all a bad look. In fact, I've never heard this defense before. Chouameni actually said Petriani was telling people on the pitch that, no, I didn't call him a monkey. I called him a gay slur instead. Then after the match, full denial from Pestriani. It's just an ugly, ugly scene. And Vinicius seems to be, as you mentioned, the incredible number, a lightning rod for this, and they cannot phase this out of the game. I understand how difficult it is with thousands in attendance, but for those on the pitch, what kind of punitive measures would you take here?
I'd walk off the field. I mean, until you wait for FIFA actually do something about what they are talking about. And you can throw every confederation in this. Walk off the field as a player. And listen, Dan, I'm glad you brought it up the way you did, allegedly. But if you're putting your shirt over your mouth and 6 players are saying, we heard it, you can miss me with the denial. I'm sorry. You can just absolutely. And then what bothers me even more is Jose Mourinho after the game then saying this always happens to him. Why? Because he celebrates his goals? Like that's what I don't understand. He didn't do anything but celebrate a fantastic goal, and then for Jose Mourinho to say, well, this happens to him because he does that. Now, there's just so much of that. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
It seems like Europe, though, is a bit behind the times in this regard, where even a champion coach like this doesn't know how to not victim blame, and he's bothered by the showmanship of a guy who likes to enjoy his goals. Like, we did this with Terrell Owens in this country 20 years ago.
Yeah, and Jose Mourinho, by all accounts, historically an ally, beloved by his black players, and if that's supposed to be one of the good guys, and he decides to victim blame and point the finger at Vinicius, that shows you how far Europe has to come here.
I mean, they're behind it. Guys, we've had this conversation in our country with the Latin American players celebrating home runs, and it turns into this conversation, well, that's against the underlying baseball rules and all of that. But the reality is that you are signaling a certain demographic of people that want to do things differently. In my sport, the global sport, there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's different ways to look at celebrations and officials and all of this. Your player put his jersey over his mouth, and 6 players said he said monkey 5 times. And then after the game, you want to say, why does this always follow that player? That doesn't work for me. That's behind the times. That means you don't understand what racism is.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Ryan. Now, if you've been following the show, you know I've been traveling, been super busy, been supporting my favorite football team with mixed results, right? Not the greatest hang so far in 2026. I try to find every excuse in the book. I had one buddy that was trying to invite me out. I wanted to stay in. He's like, come on, let's watch this NBA game. So I go over to his house. I watched this NBA game, and guess what? Something amazing happened. He pulled out the Miller Lights, and I knew right away I made the right call. Next thing you know, we're toasting, we're celebrating, we're having a great time, we're talking about nostalgia, we're talking about old friends that we had, and it was all thanks to Miller Lite, that icebreaker. Because when you actually say yes, and you actually show up, you want a beer that fits the moment. For me, that's Miller Lite. Legendary moments start with Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
DraftKings Sportsbook puts you right in the middle of basketball's biggest star-driven moments. Bet player props, bet live, and when a game turns fast, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player gets injured anytime in the first half, your bet stays alive. And once it settles, you'll still get paid in cash. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code DAN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Don Batard.
Greg, how's your birthday going so far?
I invented it. It's going fantastic. My wife and I are staying home tonight. We're watching the debate on TV. We're going to do something special for dinner. It's a nice day for me so far.
Stugotz.
That sounds like not a super nice night. The debate.
Old people love that shit.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Old people do love that shit. And I'm old now. I can't deny it anymore.
Now, this is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Can you explain to us, please, whether you have more hope about the U.S. National team than you did the last time you were on with us when it was just epic mess?
Yes, Dan, I do. Absolutely do. Now, in saying that, you could call me and we could do this in 60 days from now. And hopefully, knock on wood, we're not talking about 2 or 3 injuries and players struggling. But Mauricio Pochettino has found a way to push the right buttons. And I think the Gold Cup controversy with Pulisic and others asking for a break, I think he struck a chord with the emotional side of playing for the U.S. men's national team, of playing for the red, white, and blue. I absolutely believe that. I also believe, and everyone's mischaracterized the group. Dan, guys, it's not an easy group, but it's a favorable group. And the draw works out for the United States that if they do their job, they finish first in the group. When you do that, that gives them a road that is a real success rate of getting to the quarterfinals. And in my opinion, it's quarterfinals or bust. After that, then it depends on who you play and how you get there. But I am much more optimistic, for lack of a better word, for the United States men than I was about 100 days ago.
Taylor is the lead analyst for Apple TV's MLS coverage that is starting up now. You don't need an additional subscription. Any Apple TV Plus subscriber can get MLS. That is a step in the right direction for what I fear.
Amen, buddy.
What I fear is when this day would come, I always thought that the United States as a soccer nation, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch, we'd be building to a crescendo. And it kind of feels, given what's happening in the country and maybe some previous missteps, that we're right there on perhaps missing this opportunity. What is MLS and U.S. soccer going to get right here to make sure that this isn't a window that's closing on them?
First off, I'm glad you brought it up. This is a unique opportunity. And actually, we talked about it on this show with you guys, is that now just having one subscription, you're on Apple TV, you can see MLS in over 108, 109 countries. That's great. That is fantastic. And that's going to grow the league. And more importantly, grow the likes of Son and Messi and all of that in MLS to a higher level. But Michael, everyone talks about what can MLS and U.S. soccer do? And this is the difference from when the World Cup was here in 1994. We didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have the league. We didn't have the stadiums. We didn't have the training facility. The 3 of the 7 highest-ranked teams in the world chose Kansas City as their base camp because of the training facilities. And why do I say that? So, Michael, my answer to this is 48 countries are going to come to this World Cup. They're going to see what MLS is. That is exponentially different than where we were 30 some odd years ago. And so I get your anxiety because I think all of us kind of feel it because it's hard to quantify. How do you maximize the opportunity? And I keep telling everybody, just do what we do. Show the world what it is. And I promise you, the Lewandowskis and all these players that come over here that have an inkling of interest in what MLS is, once they see our country, Michael, I think it's going to speak for itself. And so I'm not as anxious about what the United States can do and what MLS can do. I think once the schedule change comes in about 14, 16 months, I think the salary cap's going to change. And then I think you're going to see the global player want to come here a lot earlier than they have in the past. I just think MLS is going to be under a microscope because a lot of people don't know what it is. And then when they tangibly see it, I think that's how you grow this thing.
Can the U.S. hosting a World Cup at this time in its history be politics-free, or do you have a level of concern that the whole immigration deportation issue is going to sort of shadow the games?
I will never be a person that says politics isn't in sports, and I will never be a person that says politics is not in the global game and in world football, because essentially that's how some of the clubs were born, were based on politics. And so I do believe the World Cup in the United States. And in that frame of work and that time, I think it will be safe. And I want it to be safe because that is what the United States is. That is who we are. We are a diverse country that opens our arms to people coming to see and experience what we do. And we throw an event better than anyone else in the world. And I hope that's what comes through. But I understand a lot of people asking that question because a lot of people, including myself, just have questions on where we're going in this country. And I think it's just human nature to have that question.
The MLS season returns this weekend on Apple TV. It really is it's a crazy thing to say. It's also a crazy thing to say, watch the defending champions, Inter Miami, CF. That is crazy to say that they are defending, that Messi is back. He may not play in the first game, but everything has already been a success. Thank you, Taylor. Always good talking to you. Appreciate the time, as always.
As Stan Van Gundy said, are you guys done with me?
Yeah, I didn't set up the context of that very well on the front end when Jeremy is mentioning the idea that what surrounds Giannis is not unlike the mess in Orlando. What was being reported back then, it was really before the Insider. It's not like coverage was now. It was just being reported in a handful of newspapers that Dwight Howard, a Defensive Player of the Year, second in MVP voting, somebody at the time that you would have argued might have been about as good as LeBron, like that. Those were at the time.
It was definitely one or the other.
It was
like
closer.
You were picking, who do you build around?
It was them more than it was Derrick Rose.
Incorrectly, but
don't say who we picked.
Dwight Howard ended up wanting a trade, and it was reported in a few newspapers, and Stan was basically saying, yep, there's tension there.
Yep.
Remember when we wanted Odin over Durant? Oh, man.
Yeah, my worst work. It's a real suffering. There are a couple of things that I have to catch up with on today's show because the wrestlers have been distracting me. Have we gotten any good names via the internet, better for a tag team than Los Gorditos? Greg, did you make a mistake earlier in the show and call Ron Frazier the Showman instead of the Wizard? Or were you just saying he is a showman?
Right.
It's not because you got his nickname wrong.
No, I was using a lowercase showman.
Okay, very good. It was a lowercase showman.
Yeah.
Mike, how did you feel about Taylor calling you Michael again and again?
Taylor's my dog. Like, he's one of like 4 people on the planet that can do that, I guess.
Okay, he's allowed.
It's kind of like Wilbon calling you Danny.
All right, yes.
And Doggy, too. Doggy calls you Danny.
Doggy set a record for calling me Danny at the Super Bowl 8 times in a single interview. That does not happen quite that often. I want to go back out to our wrestling friends, and I need to give Domino some promotion for for helping these clowns. Domino in the Bash at the Brew is Friday, March 6th at the Tank Brewing Company in Doral. He's taking on Stallion Rogers. Matches start at 8 p.m. You can find tickets, ccwtix.com. Can we go out to Domino now and see if these two guys have learned anything in the way of wrestling? Because Zaslow's quite the showman there with his Kid Rock shorts and his
Is he gonna talk to us?
Small S.
And his belly. Yes, I'm going to talk to you guys in a second, Zaslow. I'd like to talk to you. Are you ready for me to talk to you, or are you guys not ready?
Why
for
is
me
he
to
already
go
limping?
immediately?
He's like hobbling over.
He's up. The Macho Man is coming back into the ring now. Have we gotten, Jeremy, any good nicknames for these two guys? Tag team from the audience.
I see Cold Soda, Steve Austin. I see Hardy's Boys, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Dos Huevos.
Greg, how do you feel about the job your son is doing?
I've never been prouder.
He's also a showman, though.
Bam Bam, Big and Slow.
Ooh.
He's taking a punch. Wow.
The chops are real. He's selling.
Man. Don't hurt my boy.
Zaz's not taking any of the bumps. That's probably smart.
Zaz's a cuck over there.
Yeah, given the gate.
Stay down! Stay down! Make a mockery of my facility! Oh, you want more? Or are you done? Yeah. Let me up. Oh, a little test of strength.
What's the grapple? Oh, you think well.
Viste, estos son unos falsos, no pueden conmigo, que el bárbaro soy yo. He's cheating. All right, training session is done. He's cheating.
Okay, we will check back in with you guys in a little while. Thank you for all of your good work out there. I've never seen Greg Cody be so proud of his failure of a son. What?
Whoa!
He's failed. Look, he's on his back. What constitutes greater failure in wrestling than his present position? You're mad at me saying he's being counted out with no one on him.
That's not how wrestling works. Samino should know better.
He's a showman.
I cannot wait to see how sore both these individuals are tomorrow.
Zaz got knocked out by a slap to the chest.
Getting back to something that we were talking about earlier, Greg, with Nick Wright, the Chiefs aren't favored to win the AFC West this year. That's the first time since 2018 that they're not favored to win the division. And we were talking yesterday about what the Dolphins are going to do and Tyreek Hill. Mike Renner is saying that Malik Willis went 13 for 15 for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns on deep passes with the Packers. Insane stuff. Easily the most intriguing free agent quarterback in years is what Mike Renner is saying.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I who else had like glowing praise? Chris Sims said that Malik Willis is a budding superstar. Now, I really loved Malik Willis at Liberty. I thought he was raw. And then when he got into the pros, the game moved a little fast for him and the consistency was not there. But I can understand Miami Dolphin fans and really teams. This is the bad quarterback year. You don't have many options unless you have the number 1 pick, and Kyler Murray looks like the prize. I can see fan bases talking themselves into Malik Willis's ceiling because at Liberty I did.
Oh, it's not going to be fan bases. It's going to be these two guys because the two people running the franchise. Look, I've got to think. I have to think that they already know that if that's the guy they want, they're going to get him. They're going to outbid others, and he's going to want to be with the staff that he has some familiarity with, and he's going to want a chance at, can I be the guy? I don't have to be behind the first-round pick, Jordan Love, and the politics of that are never going to get me a real chance. The numbers on Malik Willis, I just mentioned them, on deep passes. Look, everybody wants that. Nobody has that. You've got the Seahawks have explosive plays, but even Mahomes, the Chiefs are going to talk themselves back into Tyreek Hill because of how hard explosive plays are in that league. Deep passes, 13 for 15 for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's obviously a tiny sample size, but the only advantage the Dolphins have, actually it's twofold. They've got his management team, and they've got the opportunity to build the whole thing around him. Nobody else can do it quite like that.
A great measure of explosive plays, too, is how much time do you have in the pocket. And the Dolphins need really to address, obviously, the offensive line. They've got a couple pieces there. But the offensive line, you're not going to be able to sit back and throw those deep passes when you're getting bum rushed, 2 seconds in.
I think they'll go offensive line in the first round, if I were them, with the 11th pick. Although Reuben Bain would be very, very tempting because Miami has so many needs.
He's going to go before 9.
Well, I've seen him anywhere in that 9 to 11 range. I mean, that's exactly about where he's going to go. If they want him badly,
he's the best pass rusher in this draft, and if you're the best pass rusher in a draft and as good as he is, you're going to go before 9.
Bulk Hogan.
Don Le Batard.
He called me on my own podcast. He called me full of shit, claiming that I'm faking interest in the solar eclipse.
Well,
and
you do this. You love to just get excited about everything.
Okay, Junior.
Stugotz.
I had to school you and explain to you.
He was going to take you to Augusta.
When I was 17 years old, Alan Sherry and I used to haunt the Bueller Planetarium.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
When you talk about Malik Willis, though, and you talk about Patrick Mahomes, whatever the gulf is between what has been the top of that sport and how far it is that you are from it, when Tyreek Hill went from saying out loud, we could win 8 or 10 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, coming down here, not winning a single playoff game, and now possibly going back to Kansas City. And I found really interesting what Mike Florio was saying. He named 8 teams that would want Tyreek Hill. And I'm like, the last time I saw Tyreek Hill, I saw an explosion on a leg that would make me wonder whether or not that person can still be fast when they come back. Never mind quick and cuts. That was a knee explosion. His leg was going the wrong way. Like usually when there are knee injuries, and you guys tell me all the times you've seen an injury. Kevin Durant, I guess, would be one, but not one of the gruesome ones that makes you turn your television off and that person comes back with the same speed that they had before.
Willis McGahee. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you what Willis would have been without the knee injury, but he was pretty damn good as a pro.
And imagine that was 20 years ago. Like, obviously, me and Mike were talking back here. Tank Dell, who had a knee explosion on a big game.
That's one of the most gruesome injuries, and he missed all of last year. He's trying to work his way back. Dude, the knee looks deformed. Like, I don't know how he's ever going to get back to what he was in terms of, like, explosion. And Tyreek, he was already, like, even when he was healthy, you could see his game diminishing.
Yeah.
He was slowing down. The explosion out of the routes wasn't exactly the same. But, I mean, we'll see how the recovery goes. I imagine Tyreek Hill is still going to have impressive straight line speed, and that'll be an asset. Those guys that are fast, that just give me 1-9 route. It's how Deshaun Jackson ended up playing for like 3 teams down the final stretch of his career and was still getting opportunities.
I think he's the perfect fix. If you feel like you're close to championship contention and you're light in the wide receiver room, he's a good 1-year gamble. He's a guy that you can probably get cheap.
Again, though, I do want to come back here because while he said Willis McGahee, to my recall, and I may be recalling this wrong, okay? Willis McGahee was a first-round running back and was a very good professional running back. But when I thought of him in the pros, I did not think of breakaway speed. I thought of a great runner who was a very rugged runner, but not as fast as he was at Miami. This is not a common knee injury, okay? His knee exploded. It's a dislocated knee and the leg going in the wrong direction. He's 32 years old, built on quickness. When your gift is that you're faster than all the other athletes in the league, I think if your leg explodes that way, you might not be anymore. Like when it explodes like that at that age. Maybe he does everything that's necessary, rehabs perfectly, and still the knee exploded in a way that would take away a guy who's got... How many guys in the league do you look at and ever watch, ever, and say, he's got a few steps on everyone? How is he faster than everyone? Ted Ginn was able to do it late in his career. But again, none of these guys had their knee explode that way. And I'm not a doctor, obviously, but that gives me more questions. When Florio said that, I'm like, really? 8 or 9 teams are going to think that in the discount bin, they're going to welcome all that dude is at this age? And with that injury, you guys are that confident that Drew Rosenhaus is telling you the truth about what the surgeries are? That this person is going to be ready to bring into your receivers room faster than everyone in the league? I just don't. Those seem like reasonable questions to me to wonder whether or not that can possibly ever even be Brandon Cooks again. Because you're right. Like the guy who can get down the field faster than everyone will always get a chance. But I've never seen one of them have a knee explode that way.
Razor Hamon.
Greg Cody, the story involving Tony Clark resigning as Major League Baseball's head of the union in a time of great scandal, okay?
Yeah.
There's so much scandal in the world right now, and so many people immune to scandal that it's hard to keep up with it all. Tony Clark now is no longer the head of a players' union that got used pretty bad and used to be the best of the players' unions. But to hear David Sampson and others tell it, Major League Baseball's owners got over on the players because they were wanting things like candy in the clubhouse. I'm oversimplifying, and not looking at some of the other macro things that the owners were taking from them. This man is now resigning because there was an internal probe around all sorts of malfeasance, not unlike the stuff that was happening around the NFL Players Union, where you get these power position people who abuse their power. Tony Clark, not uniquely qualified for this job. He was a first baseman, a Major League Baseball player who was handed over the finances and power of the entire Major League Players Union at one time, the most powerful of the unions to be found anywhere in business, never mind just sports. And they've given away a great deal of their power. This scandal, though, the only thing that anyone is going to see is stepsister. It's affair. Sister-in-law, excuse me.
Yeah.
That's a good correction. My bad.
Wrong category.
tab.
That's different. No, see, that's even a worse scandal.
Yeah, minor fine.
Sister, I think that's a bigger fine actually. If I have to go, I don't know what the fine for that is. It's not a mistake that I've made before, but having an affair with your sister-in-law allegedly deserves. If I get that as stepsister, what I've accused you of now deserves a bigger fine than just $5. I think.
That's right.
That mistake.
Let's stay here.
How much should that fine be? I mean, it's a mistake. I made it. We might as well sink into it. I mean, it was an honest mistake, but it was a mistake.
We don't do that in this state anymore, by the way.
$25.
You know what? That seems fair.
Yeah,
thank
you.
That seems
Stand your ground,
That
Tony.
seems fair. I'm going to pay the fine.
The Fine Bucket is presented by MoneyLion. Download the MoneyLion app or visit MoneyLion.com to learn more. MoneyLion, make money easy.
This is the second greatest fine in the history of the show. Usually that $50 fine is just for death, and I deserve this as the Fine Bucket returns because that's a bad mistake. Because I just made the scandal even worse than it was, and it was plenty fine the way that it was.
It was already a pretty bad scandal, but you somehow really softened it. It's just his sister-in-law, not his stepsister.
I give Tony Clark a little bit of credit. I mean,
oh my God!
Listen, no. Here's what I mean. If you're gonna be scandalized, be creative with it. Don't get involved in a scandal that's mundane, that we've all heard before. Do something that perks the eyebrows a little bit. It's like, really? With his sister-in-law? Interesting. See, that's a read me headline. I'm going to read about that, whereas if it's just a typical, he's allegedly skimming a little money off the side or whatever, boring. But an affair with the sister-in-law, that gets my attention.
Dan, that's another Greg Cody first down.
There is a wide-ranging and still open federal probe into the MLBPA's finances and other alleged improprieties. There are a number of them.
Yeah, but those are boring.
Yeah, no one cares, Dan.
Well, not only do they not care, I've somehow managed, because of the way that I presented this and because of the pothole I fell in, I've somehow managed to make all of this less scandalous than it was. If you're just learning of what it is that I said, if you're just learning of Tony Clark and any of this, and I've given you the context, and then I say an affair with his stepsister on top of that, I've thrown in something to all of a sudden make all the next outrageous claims less outrageous because of where I put your expectations at the start of this. I think it should be bigger than a $25 fine, frankly. It's not quite killing somebody, but I mean, their character, this guy's in plenty
character assassination, $25.
This guy is in plenty of scandal as it is. I can't imagine, okay? I cannot imagine. He's not the victim here, but he is a person who had great respect in baseball circles as both a player and a leader. To have all of this in front of people, the illicit affair, and you betrayed your players. The accusation of you could not be trusted by your peers to protect their money. They gave you their money and their power. The amount of shame that must be in this man's life right now, in all regards, it'll make you question everything that you did with your life. It'll make you question everything you did with the entirety of your life to have this kind of behavior investigated by your peers because you couldn't be trusted with their money.
It's such a bizarre story because it seems like they were moving around profits or budgets to potentially skim some money off the top. We don't know. If it had been his stepsister that he slept with, that would be a much bigger story. But it's his sister-in-law, which means it's either a brother's wife or your wife's sister. Could be your sister's wife. I'm an ally. But one way or another, which is worse? Which is the worst scenario to find yourself in? A public affair where you slept with your brother's wife, or a public affair where you slept with your wife's sister? Your thoughts?
Well, let's go through all of it, though, because let's go through all of this here, all of the examples. Put it on the poll, Juju, at Levitard.
Either way, Greg's commending the creativity.
Yeah. I'm not so much commending it, I'm appreciating it.
All right, I thought those were synonyms, but all right.
Not quite synonyms.
Ravishing Rick food.
At Levitard Show, which is, I wanted tag teams, okay? I did want tag teams for both of them. We could go fat jokes. We can go just fat jokes at one of them, but it can't be Ravishing Rick Food for both of them. It can only be Ravishing Rick Food for one of them. Ravishing Rick Foods, maybe, as a tag team?
No.
The Rib Roll Express.
Which is worse at Le Batard Show? Cheating with your brother's wife? Cheating with your wife's sister? Or cheating with your sister's wife?
Yep.
Parenthetically, I'm an ally.
Yep. Yeah, make sure that's
Yeah, put that as well in there just to make sure to cover all
Let's
the
make sure
ground.
by erasure does not exist.
But so as far as scandals go, though, I am positive that most people here don't remember Tony Clark as a player, and most people here don't necessarily. I don't mean in the shipping container. I mean listening to.
I was about to
this.
say Tony the Tiger.
Yes.
All-star.
Yes.
I remember him as a player. Fist me.
The first.
Yeah.
Only Chris can do that. You can't do that.
The first of the tall first baseman, the first of the tall, big first baseman who hit for power. Yes. But I think even fewer of you knew what he was doing recently as the head of the Players Union. And now this is how he's remembered his punctuation.
Hey, everybody, it's Mike Ryan. Now, if you've been following the show, you know I've been traveling, been super busy, been supporting my favorite football team with mixed results, right? Not the greatest hang so far in 2026. I try to find every excuse in the book. I had one buddy that was trying to invite me out. I wanted to stay in. He's like, come on, let's watch this NBA game. So I go over to his house. I watched this NBA game, and guess what? Something amazing happened. He pulled out the Miller Lights, and I knew right away I made the right call. Next thing you know, we're toasting, we're celebrating, we're having a great time. We're talking about nostalgia. We're talking about old friends that we had. And it was all thanks to Miller Lite, that icebreaker. Because when you actually say yes, and you actually show up, you want a beer that fits the moment. For me, that's Miller Lite. Legendary moments start with Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.